We focus on Shelton at this time, and Shelton Fire Marshal Mike Patti in studio with me. Morning, Mike.
Hi, Jeff. How are you this
I
morning?
am well, and good to see you.
Good seeing you.
We're talking a lot about fires and fires all across the West here, and got a burn ban in effect?
Started last Saturday,
Okay.
8 o'clock.
What's the deal with that? What do we need to know?
Well, basically, in the city of Shelton, of course, we've always had a ban on burning except for the recreational type fires for your marshmallows and hot dogs. This pertains more to debris type fires outside the city limits.
Okay.
Where you're still allowed to burn with a permit. You can still have the recreational fires, the 3x3 fires, but the debris burning piles from the logging or if you're clearing land, something like that. If you have a permit, that permit's been temporarily rescinded by both the county and by DNR.
Oh, wow.
Probably through early mid-October.
Okay. 2 weeks ago, I think, Jeremy Hicks from North Mason Regional Fire was
Right.
on, and he was talking to me about how the Commissioner of Public Lands was working with multiple counties around the area to coordinate these burn bans. Is that part of this?
Right.
How'd that all go? Work out?
DNR's has always been, traditionally, it's been a one-size-fits-all type of a regulation when a burn ban came down.
Yeah.
And we're all pretty familiar that Washington State has two different climates, eastern and western Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And we, as a group, thought that maybe the restrictions on even campfires, the DNR restriction was you couldn't even have a residential recreational fire unless you had it. The only places they could do it were campfires within DNR campgrounds.
Oh, wow.
And we as a group thought it's a little drastic, especially in the summertime when people have their kids and grandkids outside.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of sat together and studied and thought, if people have a decent campfire spot, with either a manufactured dome or a steel plate or something, or with bricks around it, and it's far enough away from their house and they're keeping within the 3 foot by 3 foot guidelines and burning regular wood and not burning garbage or dimensional lumber or things like that, we're going to still get the calls because people are still going to see the smoke.
Yeah.
And we're going to go out and investigate, and we're going to look at it. And if the fire meets the criteria of a recreational fire, small, well-managed, well-attended, has everything there that they have to put, if in case they have to put it out, we're going to say, have a great day. Stay with it. Be careful with it. However, if a DNR agent, because DNR outside the city is the authority having jurisdiction when it comes to the overall burns. And if they came by and in their opinion, they say it's too much of a hazard and they say put it out, they're the bosses.
Okay, so that's the important distinction.
Right.
Even if you guys have already come by and left,
and we think it's okay.
Have come in.
Correct. If they get a call that says it's just bothering people, and DNR comes in and in their mind they say the fire needs to be put out, then best thing to do is comply with their request.
Okay.
Another thing, as has always been the case, is if anybody's recreational fires are bothering their neighbors for health reasons, they can't breathe, it causes their asthma attacks, whatever, then of course that also has to be taken care of, and those fires will be extinguished as well.
Is this just with wood fires because the ash and things can get up into the sky? I mean, there's no these types of restrictions if you have in your backyard like a gas fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
They have this where people sit around and there's a
Right.
gas fire. Is that the same restrictions?
No,
or?
the
okay.
barbecues and natural gas barbecues and fireplaces are exempt from this. This is mostly because of the fly ash that can get away and start fires, or people walk away from them. They're an open fire, where even the fires that are caused by natural gas or propane, they're somewhat closed in, whether it's inside the barbecue or inside the small fireplaces.
We're coming up on the end of July already, and how are we sitting here in Western Washington for fires?
Well, we've had our share of larger fires so far. Nothing catastrophic yet in Mason, Thurston, Kitsap County. We've been watching it pretty carefully. We've gone a little over a month now without rain.
Yeah.
That's making some of us nervous, although I understand there's some rain in the forecast, maybe today.
A little bit early this morning there was some
Okay.
around the area.
Not enough to make a difference.
No.
It's not going to be enough to make a difference. So people need to understand that even if it comes down fairly significantly for a few minutes, no, don't go out and burn because the burn ban isn't going to be lifted.
What was going on with that Rock Candy Mountain fire?
I don't know.
Capitol Forest.
I saw it same as you did, and basically I'm it sounds like they got a hold of it pretty good and got it taken care of. DNR works a little different than the fire districts. We go out and put the fires out and leave. DNR will patrol those fires for several days afterwards just to make sure that there's no reoccurrences.
Wow. What can somebody do around the home if you're building your fire lines, clearing out debris, things like that?
Yeah, and that's a big thing right now is National Fire Protection Association and Department of Natural Resources are pushing a program called FireWise. And that's basically to help people make their properties and their homes more defensible against wildland fires. And it's common sense things. It's going up on your roof and cleaning the dead needles out of the gutters and out of the valleys of your roof. Making sure you have a defensible space around the house. A lot of folks, me included, have shrubs right up against the house. Love the rhododendrons and azaleas and that, but they dry out as well. And making sure that you've got a space, at least 3 feet away from your house. That's probably more important on the east side than it is on the west side. But the last few years, our potential for wildfire growth has grown exponentially in western Washington. It wasn't just a few years ago that we had that Power Line 2 fire just outside Shelton, and that was 220 some acres.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, and it told us that indeed times are changing, and we need to pay attention to ourselves here for wildland events.
So 2 years since that fire, and I haven't been up in that area recently. Do things start growing back by now, or how quickly did they come back?
They've started growing back. Certainly not to the degree it was back when we had the fire in I think it was 2012. I think, but this year we had an exceptionally wet winter and spring, and the light fuels, the grasses and that, started growing early, growing really abundantly, and they've grown. I mean, there's a lot of growth out there for flash fuels. And that's what we're fighting. Initially this year, we were told it wasn't going to be much of a wildland fire season, and that's kind of bit us. We're busier now probably than we were this time last year.
Wow. Okay. All right. Anywhere else on the West Coast? California got a ton of rain over the year, but they're seeing some fires too as well.
Yeah, I guess they're burning up down there pretty bad, and they've had some fatalities too from both fire crews as well as residents, and lost a lot of property.
We had a story of folks using drones, flying drones over fire activity, and while crews are out trying to do what they need to do. Have you ever seen that on a case where a drone will be up and impacting your ability to get the fire down?
We've used drones here at Central Mason. A couple of our guys have them, and we use them just to but we keep them low. Yeah. And as long as you stay and I don't know what the height restriction is, I want to say 400 feet or something like that. As long as you stay within that envelope, it should not be a problem. But when you start getting up in the higher, putting up way in the higher elevations where it starts interfering with the air, the air tanker operations, that's when people start having problems. Right. I've heard the same stories that it's caused a lot of problems, and there's supposed to be federal energy being placed about prohibiting drones, but I don't know where it's going.
So we have dry conditions out there, and that is putting burn bans into effect on now. We'll have more information on iFiber1newsradio.com. You can also find it Central Mason Fire and EMS on their website and social media. Mike Patti also is the Shelton Fire Marshal here as we focus on Shelton today. All right, Mike, good to see you.
Thanks, Jeff. Have a great weekend.
Day.